NBA Hall of Famer Kevin Garnett on his podcast with Paul Pierce called The Ticket and the Truth says that the New York Knicks should hold on to Julius Randle, and he is the player they need to get over the hump. We're going to break that down on today's show, but first I want you to give me your thoughts in the comments section. Pretend you are the GM. What should the Knicks do this summer? Type R for they should run it back, or type B for they should make a big-time move. You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by as we get you caught up on everything surrounding the orange and blue. Kevin Garnett thinks that Julius Randle is the missing piece for the New York Knicks. He was asked on his podcast, what is the move that the New York Knicks need to make? And essentially, do they need to trade Julius Randle? And I thought the Big Ticket's response was very interesting. Quote, he said, what is Randle? Man, Julius Randle is a 25-10 guy. He grew his game with the three ball. Man, y'all tripping on Julius Randle. Julius Randle is one of the hardest guards in this league. You know what happens when you bring in a superstar? You bring somebody else in, you've got to intertwine him into the fabric of what the Knicks are. The Knicks are gritty and cruddy. They play for 48 minutes. Their head coach is Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks are perfect. The Knicks should not be touched. Let's run this 2 years with this team and then talk about that superstar stuff later. And you know what? Kevin Garnett has a lot of facts to stand on. When Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, and OG Anunoby were all on the court together this year, they went 11-1. And for me, sadly, I was present for the one loss against the Dallas Mavericks. But 11-1 in that run. And it wasn't just they were winning games by a little bit. They were blowing teams out. In those 11 wins, the New York Knicks won by an average point total of 18.7. They were absolutely dominating teams. And these weren't just wins against the Pistons and the Wizards and the Spurs and the Rockets. No, these were wins against some of the best basketball teams in the association. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves by 6 points in the first game of the OG Julius and Jalen Brunson era. They beat the 76ers when they had Joel Embiid by 36 points. They beat the NBA champion Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets by 38. And then they also beat Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, Miami Heat, and Bam Adebayo by 16 points. Sadly, this was the last game that we saw all three playing together, as that was the day that Julius Randle ended up separating his shoulder. The Knicks were literally the best team in the month of January when Randle, OG, and Jalen Brunson played. They had a 14-2 record in January, first in the NBA. They had a defensive rating of 104.1, which means they allowed just 104.4 points per 100 possessions. That was first in the NBA. They had a net rating of plus 15.8, which means they outscored their opponents by 15.8 points per 100 possessions. Number one in the NBA. And they also had a rebound percentage of 54.8%. Number one in the NBA. So the best record, best defense, best net rating, and best rebound percentage. That team was special. And I honestly loved the way that Randle was playing alongside Anunoby. He felt a little bit more relaxed. There was less on his plate. They didn't have to ask him to do as much. And I thought he turned it up a little bit on defense. I thought he made a couple more winning plays. You see his points per game with OG compared to without OG this year goes up by 1.3 points per game. Rebounds go down a little bit, but the assists go up. He was making that extra pass. He was more able to be a facilitator from that high elbow because he had another player on the court, Anunoby, who could knock down a catch and shoot three at a high percentage. But that three-point percentage is something that I'm focused on. That went up in a major way. His just shot quality improved from that spot. And I truly think that that was a direct reflection of Anunoby. There was more space. And I want to see Randle this year, if he's back with the Knicks, be better at taking more corner threes. He only took 37 this past year, and his pull-up frequency from 2023 to 2024 went down from 33.5 to 24.5. What does that tell me? He didn't have to hunt his shot. He didn't have to take bad shots. He could rely on his teammates more, and I think that is why Randle was able to have success, and the Knicks were so good in this small mini era of Anunoby, Randle, and Brunson. He knew he didn't have to do as much, and I was proud of the way that he was playing basketball. But the question you may be asking is, Marshall, why would the Knicks trade Julius Randle? And you know what? I'm not so sure I have a great answer for that. But if I was a part of the Knicks front office and Leon Rose said, Marshall, why do you think we should trade Julius Randle? I would come back with a question to him. Do you think that the Knicks can win an NBA title with Randle, Brunson, and Anunoby being the top 3 highest paid players on your team? If the answer is yes, you don't trade him. If the answer is no, I think you at least need to think about it and listen to offers. What do you think? Can the Knicks win a championship with Julius Randle playing alongside Brunson and Anunoby? Can that big 3 get it done? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Another question I would ask Leon Rose as to if he asked me, why would we trade Julius Randle? I would respond with another question. Can regular season Randle, can the guy that's a 2-time All-NBA player, can the guy that's a 3-time All-Star, can regular season Randle show up in the playoffs? Can he produce the way he does in December, in January, in May, in June? If the answer is yes, if regular season, All-NBA, multi-time All-Star Randle shows up in the playoffs, I do believe the Knicks can win a championship. But I don't know if he can. And I've seen him now for 2 seasons not produce in the playoffs. He wasn't good against the Hawks. And my thought process is, I've already touched that stove. That stove is hot. And I don't need to touch it again to know it is hot. But I need to know if the temperature has gone down a little bit. He wasn't good against the Hawks. We know that. Shot terribly from the field, shot terribly from 3. And he also had a terrible assist-to-turnover ratio. He also wasn't good against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Averaged just 14.4 points per game in that series, just 6 rebounds. He shot just 33.8% from the field and 23.5% from 3. And then against the Heat, he played a little bit better, shooting 41% from the field, but still struggled from 3 at 28%. And once again, his assist-to-turnover ratio was simply not good enough. Just 4.2 assists per game compared to 4 turnovers. In the playoffs, Randle has been consistently a bad shot taker, a low-energy defender, a guy that turns the ball over at way too high of a clip, and just hasn't been a winning player. But he's been that guy in the regular season now for 3 out of the last 4 years. He wasn't great in 2021 and 2022 when he shot 41% and 30% from 3 and the Knicks didn't make the playoffs. What about when they were the 4 seed with no Brunson? He was good. He was great in that year. Played 71 games. He was once again good when he was All-NBA in 2022-2023. And he also had a good start to this year in the 46 games he played prior to the shoulder separation, being named an All-Star again and giving you 24-plus points, 9-plus boards, 5 assists on 47% from the field and 31% from 3. One thing, though, that if Randle wants to be a part of this team, he has to become a better three-point shooter. You can't have Josh Hart, a big man, and Randle on the floor consistently, all shooting less than league average from 3. You're asking Jalen Brunson to dominate the paint with a lot of feet in it. You need Randle to be a better three-point shooter. And honestly, I am conflicted with Julius Randle for a lot of the reasons I've already said. I think he's a great player. You don't become a 2-time All-NBA player and a 3-time All-Star if you're not a great player. Randle has been a great player for 3 out of the last 4 regular seasons. But I always will question if regular season Randle can show up in the playoffs. If the answer is yes, you keep him, and you can win an NBA title. If playoff Randle is just what playoff Randle is, you're going to have to reevaluate some things. Right now, I don't know. And maybe I should just trust my eyes, or maybe I should give him another chance. It's a very difficult decision that Leon Rose is going to have to make. Coming up next, the odds makers out west have come up with a list of the top Julius Randle trade destinations. So we're going to break down the betting odds around the corner. But first, you need to go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, and PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. And with the Eastern Conference Finals as well as the Western Conference Finals get kicked off, you should be playing PrizePicks while the NBA playoffs are ongoing. But it's more than just the NBA. You could play NHL, college basketball, soccer, PGA Tour, NASCAR, NFL, college football, when it comes around the corner, there's a lot to play on Prize Picks, and how you play is it's create a lineup at 2 to 6 players, and you simply choose more or less on their projected stat line. It's easy and exciting daily fantasy sports. Support the show, support the sponsor, be a real one. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. It's daily fantasy sports made easy, and all you do is pick more or pick less. Alrighty, so a list has come out of Julius Randle's next team odds, and the favorite that they have to land Julius Randle at this current moment is the Washington Wizards at plus 300. So I thought, Marshall, who is a player that the Knicks could target if they do make a trade where Randle goes to Washington? And the only player I could think of was Kyle Kuzma, who is a CAA client. And there were rumors last year that the Knicks were interested in signing Kyle Kuzma in free agency. But I believe Randle is a better player than Kuzma. Are they going to attach picks to Kuzma to give him to the Knicks? I don't know. Maybe at one point I would have traded Randle for Kuzma straight up, but I don't think I'm still on that boat at this point. The next team with the next best odds was the Detroit Pistons at plus 400. I thought to myself, I'm not trading Randle for Jaden Ivey. I'm not trading Randle for Jalen Duren. And they're not trading me, Cade Cunningham, for Julius Randle. So what the hell are we doing here? Is it a 3-team trade maybe? I don't know. The only guy I would trade Randle for to the Pistons is Cade Cunningham. And I don't think the Detroit Pistons are doing that. So that brings us to the third spot, the Brooklyn Nets at plus 500. And this one makes a lot of sense. Mikal Bridges, right? The Nova Knicks. You get them back together. But the thing is, they haven't made a trade in 41 years. And I don't think the ownership group of the Brooklyn Nets want to see Mikal Bridges go to the New York Flourish and potentially help them win an NBA championship. Could be wrong. I still don't believe it's all that likely. I want it to happen no matter how bad I want it. It's not going to change what I think happens. And I don't think this will happen unless maybe it's a 3-team trade. But I don't know. What do I know? What do I know? Next, the Toronto Raptors. I thought to myself, it's a lot like the Pistons. Why the hell are we talking about the Toronto Raptors? Then I remembered the New York Knicks were heavily interested in trading for Bruce Brown at the NBA trade deadline. But then I remembered Bruce Brown has a team option for north of $22 million to stay on the Raptors this offseason. Raptors could decline that. Do the Knicks want to pay Bruce Brown $22 million? Yeah, I'm sure Tibbs loves Bruce Brown. He'd love to add another Josh Hart to this team. Like giving up a 3-time All-Star and a 2-time All-NBA player for 10.8 points per game and 4 rebounds? I don't even think the biggest Julius Randle hater in the world would say yes. And at one point, that might have been me. Then another one. Cleveland Cavaliers at plus 1,000. I mean, sure, you want to give me Evan Mobley? That's not enough. I don't just want Jared Allen. I'm only taking Donovan Mitchell. And I don't even want Donovan Mitchell on the Knicks anymore. I'm officially on that boat. I no longer want Donovan Mitchell on the Knicks because I don't think there is a recipe you can cook up where you have 2 6'1" guards that defend at a league below average level. So no, I'm not trading him to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Donovan Mitchell. And I'm not just trading Julius Randle to do it. At one point I did think, maybe it's just addition by subtraction. That was when the Knicks didn't make the playoffs. That was when the Knicks were struggling to be the 5th seed last season. They were up and down, and they caught fire at the end. I think we saw, though, that the Knicks missed a guy that gets you 25, 10, and 5 in the playoffs. If the Knicks can find a better fit, sure. But that's the only way I'm trading Randle at this point. 11-1 with Randle, OG, and Brunson. Is that a small sample size? Yes. Does January hoops really matter? No. But I think that's a solid enough piece of evidence to at least lean on and try it out again and then reassess at the NBA trade deadline if there's not an upgrade to make in a trade. Because you don't just move off 3-time All-Stars and 2-time All-NBA players. I'm not saying he is a generational talent. I'm not saying the Knicks are going to win a championship if they keep him. But right now, I don't know if there is a trade out there that puts them in a better spot to be a championship contender if Randle is involved in that deal. It's a tough decision that Leon Rose is going to have to make. We've seen him fizzle out in the playoffs now twice. Injuries were a part of it last year. He didn't have much help against Atlanta. Everyone's got excuses, though. Can he jump over that adversity and get it done in the playoffs next year? Do the Knicks want to wait and find out if he can or if he cannot? Going to be an interesting summer. I want you to predict it, though. What team is Randle going to be on next season? Is it the Knicks? Is it somebody else? Type K for the Knicks. Type O for other. And make sure you are following me over on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Hit me up over there as I'm trying to grow my social media presence. And let's go Knicks.